The New York Times reports several major investment firms are leaving a group founded to fight climate change. The group, Climate Action 100 Plus, says it's made up of 700 investment firms that manage $68 trillion in wealth. Climate Action's mission is to have those investors to use their influence to get 170 target companies to reduce emissions. But opposition from states' attorneys general and some Republican lawmakers has made association with the group a legal and PR risk. For more, let's bring in Aron Cramer. He's president and CEO of the Business for Social Responsibility, or BSR, a global nonprofit. Thank you so much for being here. Let's step back and do a little defining of terms. ESG. What is ESG? And give us just a little bit of the background before we go forward.
You bet. So ESG is a term that's being hotly debated, but let's take it, as you say, down to the basics. ESG is a tool through which companies consider a range of factors that are central to their strategies, to their operations, to their investments, their innovation, and to look at the future. How do they understand how the world is changing and how that will affect what they need to do to be forward-looking businesses that deliver the goods? So that includes looking at how the energy transition will affect them. That considers how changing demographics in the country and around the world might affect their workforce and their customer base, and how diversity is an important thing. It has to do with supply chain risk. It has to do with corporate governance. So these are core business concepts, and I think some of the debate over ESG has distorted that fact, and it's important to bring it back to what it really means.
The critique being that ESG, which stands for caring about the environment and social responsibility, that those are, the critics would say, not core to these companies. And as a result, the CEOs or whoever else is making these decisions don't have their eye on the ball, which is making whatever it is they're supposed to make. Is that essentially the critique?
That's the critique. Sure. I'm not sure that there is a lot of factual basis for that, because investors pay very close attention to every decision that comes out of a boardroom, out of the C-suite. And there just really isn't a lot of evidence that companies are somehow diverting resources away from core business questions to political matters. That's the argument. I don't think it holds up.
So why then are JP Morgan and BlackRock, what are they doing in response to this current environment?
Well, the reality is that there is more political pressure. There is a lot of economic volatility in the world. There are arguments being made that somehow antitrust considerations might be violated through some of these actions. And while that hasn't been tested and certainly hasn't been proven, that is causing some companies to think twice about certain actions. I think it's important to distinguish between staying a part of a group like Climate Action 100, which continues to deliver great value, by the way, and commitments to climate change. And that is not going into reverse.
So explain that. Help me with that distinction you've just made.
So this is one collaboration. It's got several hundred companies or investment firms participating in it. Mm-hmm. That is one aspect of what they are doing as investment firms. And in fact, money continues to flow into the clean energy economy, $1.8 trillion in 2023, up 22% from the prior year. So that money is continuing to flow regardless of some of this debate.
So is the distinction then that people should keep in mind, one is money that goes to investing in a solar panel firm, and the other is money that's used as leverage to get other companies to behave in a more equitable fashion?
Well, I think the real distinction is between being part of one single group that still has several hundred members, right, and the activities that companies undertake each and every day, whether it's their investments or their advocacy and so on.
How is, as a final question, how has the effectiveness been of climate action?
Well, climate action has raised awareness. It's been an opportunity for learning amongst the different firms. It's been very successful in that regard, and I think the work will continue, as things proceed.